Hello and welcome to Warhammer Joey with me, Joey, and this is my ETC evaluation video. There are, on the Warhammer forum, there's a thread of evaluations, good and bad thoughts from players and coaches and bystanders, and me, I guess. This is going to be my version. I'll upload it there of thoughts and stuff. So for you guys, I'm going to skim over some good and bad points from other people and my own thoughts of it as well. There are my own thoughts and opinions, so take from it what you will, but I want to say that I had a fantastic time. Amazing. I met so many new people, so many people that I knew from Facebook and Twitter that I met in person, and that was amazing. A few people that I didn't know that knew me, which was scary and strange, but really flattering and awesome to hear the things that they had to say. So first, let's discuss that as a beginner and as a lady, my opinions will be different from players, more advanced players, and so on and so forth. So and as media, I guess that was my purpose there. So what I wanted from the video, I had the video in mind when I went to the ETC, and what I wanted was to really capture my personal experience of the event, rather than, which I found was impossible at the time. By the first day, I knew that I couldn't cover all of the factual information, such as tables for each round for both Fantasy 40k and Flames of War Upstairs. So what I did instead was a video of my personal experience, because I don't have the manpower to have 2 cameras on the go filming as much as I can of everything. So what I want to know from you guys is if you've seen the video. As tournament coverage, I've had some really amazing feedback, just saying, you know, it's really informative, but I wanted more informative, but with that I needed double camera, maybe a triple camera, just to fully get everything in chronologically, each game, table, where everyone came, who was playing next, and so on. But with just me, it was impossible to do. Everyone was in a different area as well, so there was Fantasy in the main hall, there was 40k in the tent, and there was Flames of War upstairs, so it wasn't just me wandering one area, it was going from Fantasy to then outside 40k and trying to make a cohesive video where it all went well together. So next year, 3 separate videos for each event, tables, interviews, and have you know, still a personal experience, maybe even as a separate video, as to what was going on, because Warhammer Joey series, I guess, as I think I stated in my first ever video, is just my journey, you know, and thoughts on it. But I was there kind of as a presenter and an interviewer to really try and get the full feel of the video. So that's my thoughts on what I could do, what I could change, and what I really want it to be. What are your thoughts on it? So I'll skim over some of the good and bad points, and then give you some of my own as well. So on the Warhammer forum, we've got an evaluation thread as to good and bad stuff. So if we go from top to bottom as to what people were basically saying was the good and the bad stuff, we've got some people wanted to have more than 2 games a day. I thought it was quite a good system, considering it's 3.5 hours for each. That's a long time playing, and on the first day everyone was finished at about 8 o'clock because they started at 12. And perhaps what I take away from the ETC as an experience is that it's kind of a drinking holiday as well as a serious tournament. And I think getting up at about 8 o'clock to begin a 3-day game would be torture if you've got a raging hangover. You know, some of the teams took it very seriously and were very well behaved, but so the teams that I was hanging out with in the evening or met up with when I was out and about were pretty much hardcore drinking, which is great. And to the Irish team, they played some excellent games despite this as well, so that was some impressive drinking, guys. But yeah, in my opinion, I think 3.5 hours is a long time to play a game. The first half hour is a setup for captains to pick and do the matchups properly. And so yeah, 3.5 hours, 2 games a day, my opinion, good idea. What do you think? So one thing that really niggled me as just a bystander, and a lot of people, was the standard of terrain. Fantasy, appalling. I'm not even gonna lie, not even gonna be diplomatic about it. Stuff that was meant to be a wood was just like turf, and obviously everyone playing here was meant to be the best, like amazing players, excellent teams, but it's showing the world that this is a tournament where the best of the best players are. Have decent looking tables. I didn't know what anything was. Grass is woods, but it could be anything. I don't know. It's got to look like what it is. If you're asking people to paint and have everything, you know, everything fully painted, everything based, everything, you know, not proxying models to the point that you have no idea what they are. If you're asking that of your players, to follow through with that in the event. Have a tree that looks like a tree. I mean, even in some of the gaming clubs that I've been at, really tiny ones use fish plants as trees. It looks like a tree. It's possible. Flames of War upstairs was stunning. Absolutely beautiful. And I don't know whether they supplied it themselves, but you know, or had that from somewhere else, but they were amazing. I took a little bit of footage of some of the Flames of War stuff, but it was amazing. The 40k stuff, there's been a few complaints, but even that was vastly better than the fantasy, which was just like little hill, bit of grass. So that needs to be fully rectified, I think. If you're illustrating that this is the best tournament around, put decent terrain up. It's not that much. I've seen some brilliant stuff that you make for free. It just needs more time and care, because you're playing a game and there's enough going on as it is, rather than having to worry about what kind of terrain it is, you know. So yeah, that was bad. I think it was worse for fantasy than it was for 40k. But any thoughts on that? There's I'll try to put some pictures up as well of some of the fantasy tables that you can just see what's going on, and some of the 40k stuff. But if you were fantasy 40k, what were your thoughts? Did you have any particular issues with the game with terrain? A few points are about referees. I didn't see any particular bad stuff. A few people don't seem to get on with like one fantasy guy, but I guess if you're telling off one person and favouring someone else anyway with rules or disputes, you're not going to be the most popular guy in town. But it's just rules, I guess. I don't know, I didn't have any personal issues with it or hear anything particularly negative. There are some really negative things on the forum, but I don't have much experience on that, and again wasn't playing to fully comment. But if you want to hear more about the referee issues from the actual players, the forum is the place to go. I did meet a really nice one, Freddie, for 40k. What a fantastic, lovely guy. Was so friendly and didn't mind me being there. So again, I'm trying to speak more of a bystander than as a player. The fantasy guys were very busy, and the feel of it is fantasy is very, very serious, and 40k was a bit more. It was still a serious game, of course, but everyone was a bit more okay with me standing, having a little bit of a film, or or just asking a quick question, or people were talking to me, and that was fine. But Freddie was very welcoming, didn't was chatting, and just very friendly. So thanks for that. You're really kind. Only good things to be said about him as well. I spoke to one of the guys I interviewed about one of the rule disputes with Team Italy in England, and he was very, very welcome to just have a quick interview and was polite. So again, nothing, I wasn't really aware of any of the hostility going on, but there appears to be some. So if you're interested, have a read. Now the final segment of bad talk, I guess, would be a combination of a few things that I'm going to categorise as unclear communication and perhaps lying a little bit. So a lot of people, let's put together transport, food, air conditioning, toilets as one block. So a lot of people on the forum and in person commented on the fact that promises were made that were not kept in any way, and that applies to me as well. I experienced this, and kind of a bit crappy, but the main issues that people have raised were stuff like meals were meant to be included, transport was meant to be included, and there was no clear pricing until very, very close to the event, where there was no choice. So meals were meant to be free, at least one a day, which is what people have said, and that I was personally told. That just didn't happen, and there's been no explanation as to why, or there's even on the evaluation said there's been no explanation at all. Transport was arranged about a week before the actual event with pricing intact, so no one knew what was going on until very close to the event, and transport back to the airport wasn't arranged until when we were actually there, which was scary because I was there very far from home, not speaking the language. It was really intimidating to try and figure out a way to get home or what was going on, because I assumed that if transport was booked there, transport would be booked back, but I was going very, very early on Monday morning, and most people were going back in the middle of the day, so I didn't know whether I had to order a taxi, which is 2.5 hours back to Berlin airport, or what was going on. That was a bit like, ooh. Yeah, so unclear communication. There was no explanation as to why there were no free meals, and no expenses covered in any way, which is just plain lying. So bad form. And I think with the distance that a lot of people had to travel, it's the least that can be done is just to explain the situation, because a little communication goes a long way, and especially where the event is over, not a lot seems to be can be done about it now, but at least justifying why, what happened, what the issues were. People are pretty much going to be okay with it, but it just seems to be there's been no help, no communication back, which is the issue for me. I was invited there on very early, for about May, and at that point I'd only been into the whole Warhammer for a very small amount of time, so I thought I'd be there on more of an official capacity, but I was kind of ignored a little bit by some of the people that invited me there, and hadn't got much help in a foreign country with no real clue as to what you're meant to be there for, and actually anything that you're promised is not happening in any way. So yeah, that was a bad experience for me, feeling like I couldn't really do anything or say anything at the time. But a lot of people seem to have the same issue on the forum, so something that needs to be clear. And also, the food was expensive. Poland's very cheap. Beer's like 80p. So the food, which there was only one tent for 700 people, that's not there's not enough food there to even cater for that. People, you know, it's a lot, just not enough. And on the third day, there was nothing there. The first day there was a wide variety, and the second and third not really kind of had what they had to offer, and it was expensive for Poland. And you know, nothing that could be done, no explanation. But stuff like air conditioning as well, that was promised to everyone, and it was a fan that was faced in the middle of the room at the judges, because obviously you can't face it in the middle of the hall. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. You can't face it to the hall because the models, the force of the wind is meant to be, the force is quite strong. So, you know, but that meant to get any kind of breather or just a bit of cool air in a tent and a hall that was absolutely baking on Sunday. I was just disgusting, sweaty and nasty, and you know, the guys in the 40k tent were like, nope, don't care, top off, it's roasting. And it honestly was so hot in the tent, it was like an oven. But you know, that's not air conditioning. I think a fan is not aircon. It's, you know, it should be, we have an area of which you can be cool for a bit, but not air conditioning. So miscommunication and lying is a huge issue that seems to be quite prevalent amongst a lot of people in the evaluation here. And it goes a long way. You know, when I was approached about it, I would have still gone, regardless of the promises that were made. It's a fantastic opportunity and was an amazing weekend, despite all the negative feedback, which is a bit of mine and a lot of what I'm reading here. It was amazing. I loved it, but just an official invite to be media would be enough for me to absolutely jump at the chance. So, you know, I don't appreciate being lied to in any way, or being treated a little bit like I'm a silly girl. No, I don't. I was really proud of the footage that I got together and put out as a video to really showcase everyone that was there and how all of the players treated me with nothing but kindness and banter. And a lot of them really looked after me when I was there, and I really appreciated that. And that's what I tried to get across. But I feel that it wasn't there in the organisers. You know, I wasn't welcomed in any way. Not that I'm expecting red carpet. Don't get me wrong. You know, it would have been nice to get a bit of help and internet. Oh Lord, there should be internet. Because me and Gareth there were running around trying to tweet things, and that is the best advertising you can ever get at a tournament. People tweeting, Facebooking, pictures, films, more than anything that I can do a week after the event's already gone on. If you have updates real time, I'm playing this person, look at this awesome army picture on Facebook, you know, that does more for the UTC than anything that I will do, because you know that all of their friends are seeing it. Every guy from every team who would be tweeting what's happening in their game after the game's happened, that's amazing coverage in itself. That is amazing. Gareth was trying to run around updating the blog and did an amazing job. I'll put the post down below and the link to it. And he, you know, with trying to get iPads here and there and off his phone, got so much done. Whereas, you know, I was just desperately trying to connect to Wi-Fi. But you know, that's the bad points that I experienced and that people have put on the forum. Don't mistake it as all of my bad thoughts. This is a general overview of everyone's as well. So yeah, I feel that it's only right to be honest about everything, because if it's an evaluation for either future events, it's not always the same organisers, so I'm told, and you know, different areas have different organisers. It'll be good to see what next year's will be, where it will be, and who will be there. And you know, I think that everyone here has put some really valid points, and none of it's trying to be offensive in any way. I'm just trying to get my thoughts across for a first huge event. You know, it's unbiased, I guess, just, you know, what I take from it. The good, and there is lots of it. The food was actually pretty nice, albeit expensive. I was happy with it. More dill in a salad than you can wish for, and yeah, it was nice. There was a variety of drinks there, so when I was like hanging up, like hungover, oh, I need a coffee, there was coffee there, and it was rocket fuel as well. So that was good. There was I think the layout, albeit annoying for the camera work, the layout of having everything separate meant that there was no real confusion, and that, you know, it was everyone together in their own field rather than all like jam-packed in one huge hall, which I think would have been a bit like bit of a mental situation to get when you're seeing, say, referees wandering around. You don't know whether they're fantasy or 40k or Flames of War base. Kind of like the setup of it. The best thing, the absolute best thing for me, was in the evening when we had drinks with the teams and dinner. The dinner was cheap, was amazing. Gorzau in the really lovely areas was beautiful. So we would all go down by the river and go out in the evening. And there, I think my objective was for people to, if they knew me, get to know me as a person, and if they had never met me before, I got to make a good impression as a nice human being, I hope, and, you know, just get to have fun as not just a strange person that turned up on YouTube making Warhammer videos, but as someone a little bit more official, and just hanging out. And I had such a great time just hanging out with people, you know, and I got to follow some of there were 4 Wood Elf players. I didn't talk about it enough in the video, I don't think, but there are 4. I think 2 were from New Zealand, 1 played with Team Serbia, and I spoke to Nick from Team Australia a little bit at the end, and was just kind of in awe that there were Wood Elf players there, just like giving me hope. So thanks for that, guys. It was actually really good to see. There was some beautiful painted stuff, and you know, I was a little bit hesitant going up to some of the teams, but quite a few guys in Team Serbia were really friendly, that were allowing me to like have a look at the table. And you know, even if the language barriers were a little bit difficult, I was having a nice chat with one of the guys from Team Hungary who gave me a dice. What a star. He was really kind. And, you know, I was just wandering around, and it's always easy to hang out with people like Scotland and Wales and the 3 Irish, the 4 if we count 40k, you know, all of those teams who were English speaking and who were all really, really awesome. And I think I hung out with most of them on all of the evenings. But, you know, the American guys who were just really pleasant, who loved my English accent, and I made sure to put things about the Queen in in a couple of sentences. And then Mysterious Bob, who I met on the Warhammer forum, who we were meant to be getting the coach together with, he was actually a fantastic guy, and, you know, just amazing. I met so many lovely people that I can't wait to go back, and I miss it, and I miss them, and I missed hanging out and, you know, getting round in, and the waxing situation, which sounds worse than it is, by the way. It was just, if they lost their games really badly and they were sure they were going to win it, I waxed their chest with like a strip thing. One guy waxed his own special area, nothing to do with me. But you know, it's just silly things like that where you know, just being silly out and then getting down to business, and seeing a whole different side to them when they're like in Warhammer gaming mode, and it was just amazing, and I miss it. and you know, all of my travel buddies of Team Canada. I met some of them the 2 days before we travelled. So I went up with Andy Avery, who's like my Warhammer dad mentor. And I think he's probably sick of my face after seeing me for about 2 weeks solidly. And you know, where I met some of them, I'm going to be doubling up with Matt Ansell from Team Canada for the Giants Their Team Tournament Fancy Dress Edition. And Tom Harris and his brother Tim were just so nice to hang out with. And whenever I was, you know, just strolling about the place, would always say like hi and have a chat with me. And you know, I felt really at home with everyone. And so yeah, don't misinterpret my mixed reviews as a negative experience, because it wasn't. It was amazing, and I'm really glad to have gone. Hopefully next year I can be there in a bit more of an official capacity and get some more filming done. Also, I guess an apology to the Flame of War guys. I'm really sorry that I didn't get to go upstairs and talk about everything properly. Well, I don't know a lot about Flames of War at all, and I wasn't really aware it was going on actually. It meant that I would have to should have interviewed a lot more people and figured out the basics of the game. But if that's going on next year, I'll know what the game's about, and I'll know the people, and I'll be able to properly split the video and talk about it a lot more. So apologies for the lack of Flames of War. I'm only one person, and it's really difficult to get around to 3 separate areas to properly cover everything. So next year that is something I will definitely be doing. But yeah, I want to know if you've been there, what your thoughts are. If you haven't been there, would you want to do it? Have you been to previous years? Any different you know, evaluations from that? Any issues from those that haven't been here? Any issues from here that haven't been anywhere else? Just your general thoughts on it as an event. So yeah, thank you to everyone that was there. I hope I can get around to some of the bigger tournaments in Australia, and I'm going to Adepticon. If you're going to Adepticon, I want to hear about it. What's that like comparatively? So yeah, amazing. I think I've only just recovered, because once I'd finished that weekend, been talking so much, I had like ulcers in the side of my mouth. So yeah, thank you ETC for allowing me to be there. Apologies for anyone that got irritated by my camera presence. I'll be doing it much more next year, don't you worry. Like if you like this, subscribe if you want to, and links to everything mentioned down below. Bye!